Tuppence Magazine! Hi guys, and welcome back to us here at Tuppence Magazine, and we are going to be taking on the wonders of Pokken Tournament DX on the Nintendo Switch in this video. And essentially what we're trying to do is give you a run through of the tutorial within the game, or the main tutorial within the game, so that if you've never played the game, you've got kind of an idea of what to expect from it. And if you've already run through the tutorial and you've forgotten what the hell it was all about, hopefully you can kind of fast forward to some of the best bits within this to get a kind of reminder of what you need to do as you take on the battles. Okay, so if you've not played the game before, this is Naya, and she is your tour guide to the Ferrum region and to the battle engine that you're going to take on. She's just kind of talking about her Pokemon partner. Apparently he's disappeared somewhere, who knows where that dude is. Anyway, she's going to introduce us to him another time, so, you know, fingers crossed. Look forward to that in the future, Naya. Right then, first things first. She's going to welcome us to the Ferrum battles, where we work one-on-one with Pokemon facing off against intense battles. So we're going to be taking on some big battles with our Pokemon. Essentially, this is a kind of a fighting game where you take a Pokemon and you battle it against other Pokemons. And apparently you need your battle AR to be able to synergize with your Pokemon, which, you know, is a bit fluffy if we're being completely honest. All we really want to do is get in and fight it out with some Pokemon. But you know, there's a lot of hoops to go through as ever with any Pokemon game, so you have to kind of get into all the detail, and with Pokken Tournament DX there is a fair amount of detail to wade through. You could just get straight into the game and just kind of learn as you go in, but it's kind of worthwhile just going through the tutorial, or at least watching this video at least once, to get to grips with, you know, how you fight in the game. So she's going to give you some assistance. She's going to try and make it fun. Honestly, she's not great at making it all that fun. But that aside, there are some good things to get through while you're doing the tutorial or the start of the game. And the first thing is to choose your battle trainer name. So here you just kind of use the keyboard to choose whatever name you want to go through. And obviously with us, we're going to try and put in Tuppence Magazine. So just find in all the letters. So skipping ahead, obviously Tuppence Magazine doesn't fit in because there's only 14 characters, so we went with Tuppence Mag. So now moving on, we got to choose a character. So we got to choose whether or not we want a male or female avatar. And you know, we're feeling a little bit adventurous, so we're going to go with a female avatar. And we're going to choose some skin color now. And you know, we're going to go with that one. I think maybe, yeah, we'll go with that one. I think that's fine. Job done. And then moving on to the facial features, which, in all fairness, some of them are a bit weird, especially when you see them on her face, because she kind of looks like either she's stubbed a toe or she's been surprised, or it's just a bit odd, to be honest. I don't know when you'd just have a face like that. It's just a bit weird. So we're probably going to go with one of the earlier ones, maybe just the little smile there. There we go, that's it, job done. Okay, so moving on to eye color. There's just so many things to choose. It's ridiculous. So we're gonna go with, oh no, is this hair? Is the hair? It's blonde. We're gonna go with blonde hair. It doesn't even look all that blonde. Anyway, we moved on to the more interesting bit, which is choosing your Pokemon partner settings. So here is essentially all the Pokemon that you can battle with, and because this is the DX version of the game, you've got a large variety of Pokemon to start with. So we've got Decidueye, we've got Machamp. Bear in mind, my Pokemon pronunciation is pretty woeful, so probably going to get a few of these wrong. Garchomp, Charizard, Weavile, there's loads. There's lots of them to choose from. Suicune is there, and probably our least favourite, Chandelure, which just looks a bit rubbish. and the standard Mewtwo. You know, I don't know why to go with standard Mewtwo when there's the Shadow variant. Sceptile, we've got there with these weird pods. Gengar, big fan of Gengar. And then you've got Scizor, not so much. Okay, really like Pikachu Libra, excellent face mask, dude, very cool. God of War, I think she's French. Lucario, we've got standard Pikachu, Blaziken, and Darkrai there. But we're probably going to go with Pikachu Libra because he looks very, very cool. It's definitely a step up on the standard Pikachu. So we're going to go with that for the tutorial here. And here we get to go into the kind of the main map, and Naya's essentially going to give us a bit of a rundown on what is where and how and what you do in the different areas in the game. So apparently it's a huge island. Ferrum battles are super popular here. If you hadn't already had a go. The types of battles differ a bit from city to city, so she's going to give us a short but sweet version. Honestly, it's not that short. This whole video is like 45 minutes long. That is a long tutorial, Naya. You know, next time you're looking at doing a Pokemon game, just try and cut it down. Don't talk short but sweet, just make it short but sweet. Okay, so this is Old Ferrum Town, kind of the main town area there. Apparently she's going to cover that later. And then you've got the Ferrum Stadium, where the Ferrum League is held. Single player mode, where you battle your way to victory in the official league. And then you've got the single battle, which is in Teletown. I don't know why she supposes. Here you can join in casual matches against the CPU opponent. And then there's also a haunted house where there are strange battles going on. And then apparently there's some kind of extra popularity because you get something nice if you battle there, which kind of is a bit weird. You'd expect a haunted house to contain some nasties, not some nice treats like cakes and stuff. And then there's Selen Island, which is local battle. You can essentially battle using 2 controllers. And then you've got a wireless battle. If you've got 2 friends with the consoles close by, you can kind of play against each other, which is quite cool. And then finally, when she gets to it, come on, Talia? Who's Talia? Naya. Come on, Naya. Okay, Neos City, which is where you go for online battles, and this is where you essentially go to get absolutely mullered by people that played the original game and know all the moves already. So that's where you go to play online battles. But to begin with, she's going to take us to the practice zone, which is in Pokken City, apparently. And essentially, she's just going to run through all the different moves that you can do in the game, and kind of teach us how to play the game. I've never played the game before, so this is going to be as much of an adventure as it is for you. So essentially, Naya's saying you can start with the main battles, whether it's the Ferrum League or online, anytime you want to. So you can go straight into the games and just learn as you go, but she's recommending to do the tutorial, which is why we're kind of giving you a run through of the tutorial too, which means that maybe you can either watch the tutorial before you play the game, or if you need a refresher, you can come back to this video anytime you need to, instead of running through the whole shebang or any particular element of it directly within the game, just to potentially jog your memory or remind you of what buttons you need to press in case you kind of forget. In Pokken City, you can also access the free training mode, where you can kind of teach yourself some of the moves without necessarily having to worry about some dude online raining down the punishment. But anyway, we're going to do the tutorial first, and we're going to start with the standard tutorial, which is kind of broken down into a few different points, but she's kind of just talking through all the different practice areas. So you've got the tutorial, free training, action dojo, and combo dojo. Essentially, you can learn different elements. If you in the combo dojo, you can learn how to do combos, which is quite useful in the game itself. But we're just going to take on the basics of battle to begin with. and we're going to start with Pikachu Libra, obviously, because it's our favourite at the moment. A few of the other Pokemons are quite cool, but you know, give me a luchador mask and outfit, and you know, happy person. Especially when you got Pikachu in the mix as well. So here we are with the general explanation of the controllers. So here we're just going to learn how to move, how to do some of the initial moves, and Naya's just going to, you know, very friendly. She's going to talk us through the entire thing. And so the first thing is moving, and this is done with your left analog stick, and essentially you can move in, you can go kind of to the front, to the back, you can move diagonally. It's not full 360, it's very much kind of forward, back, left, right, right a little, left a little, back left a little, back right a little, as opposed to it being complete 360 movement, which kind of makes sense because you kind of want to be in a line with your own opponents, and by having it sort of locked in a little bit, it means that you're always within potential of getting in line with your opponents relatively easily, instead of you guys just running around the pitch 360-degree movement and, you know, never hitting each other. So here we're going to learn how to do long distance attacks or range attacks. So this is simply done by pressing the Y button, and most of the controls are relatively easy. It's just that actually there's a lot of different things that you control. So you just hit the Y button and you do a ranged attack, and obviously you can do them as you're moving and lots of different things, which you'll go through a little bit later. But in general, a range attack is done by hitting the Y button. And there you go, that's that section cleared. So now we're going to do the homing attack. So here we're going to learn how to hit it up with a homing attack. So this is the X button, and this is where essentially Pikachu or your character runs in and just dishes out the damage no matter where they are. So really kind of useful, and you can kind of press it a number of times, which we'll get to learn a little bit later. And here she's going to talk you through phases. So there are different phases, or two different phases in the game. There's field phase, which we're in at the moment, and then there is dual phase, which we'll kind of learn about in a little second when Naya gets around to it. In field phase, we've got this kind of, not 360, but you know, forward, back, left, right, and then the kind of the middle combos of those to go. And then in dual phase, it's a bit like a traditional fighting game, a traditional side-scrolling fighting game, where you move left and right. And it's kind of cool being able to switch between the two. Kind of makes it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more tricky to learn all the different controls, because there's different controls for different phases, or slightly different controls. But firstly, you need to learn how to be able to switch between the two phases. So this is done essentially by pressing up or top C button and A at the same time, and you switch phases. So there you go, you change phases and suddenly you're into dual phase. And in dual phase you can dish out some more serious damage apparently, but things are a bit more close quartered, so you can also take quite a lot of damage if you're not a bit more careful about it. So you can also see that you can do a dash move or forward dash step by pressing forward twice, and it's pretty easy to do. So kind of just press forward twice and you can dash in just like that. So you can also do a jump pressing B, which is a bit unusual for a fighting move, but it's kind of just the way it is in terms of Pokken Tournament DX. So you just press B to do a jump. It's not kind of just pressing up and up left like you would do in a traditional side-scrolling fighting game. It's pressing B to do a jump. And when you've got the hang of the jump, the next thing to do is to learn how to switch back to field phase. So essentially this is done by pressing the B and Y buttons at the same time. So by doing that, you'll be able to switch to field phase, which is back to the kind of the more open pitch where you can kind of move around. You also get a bonus when you complete a phase shift, which is an increase in your synergy gauge. So we're just going to run through a quick demonstration of that now. So just pressing X a number of times delivers a phase shift, and you can see there the field gauge, the synergy gauge, sorry, has gone up just a little bit, and you'll get to use that synergy power once it's full to the brim. So you have to kind of keep delivering the big hits like that to be able to get your synergy gauge to go up. So this little section's about blocking. So how do you block within the game? So it's simply by pressing R, and when you do that, a little shield kind of appears in front of your characters. I can't defend against everything. It doesn't completely stop all the hits, but it can be used to kind of stop things, especially like range, long distance attacks like that. And there you go, you can just kind of bring up your little shield by pressing R. And that's quite useful, really, kind of if you don't want to get hit quite so much and then you want to be able to kind of deal your own damage. It's good to kind of get used to using the block button. So now we're just looking at the synergy gauge. It's at maximum. So when the synergy gauge is at maximum, when you've managed to fill it up, you can press L and R together to kind of do a synergy burst. And once you've used your synergy burst, your Pokemon kind of like just gets surrounded by lightning and he's in synergy burst mode. And then he'll be superpowered essentially when he's in synergy burst, and he can kind of cause a little bit more damage than he would do ordinarily. He's got kind of more powerful moves that he can dish out, and here's kind of like a little section on burst attacks that you can do when you're in synergy burst. So this is kind of one of the great attacks that you can do to be able to dish out some serious hits, and if you press L and R together, then you get an extra kind of power attack which kind of deals a huge amount of damage to the opposition. Now, it doesn't always connect, so you kind of need to time it a little bit right, but essentially it kind of creates this cinematic move where your character, in this case Pikachu, does a mental wrestling move on its opposition and kind of causes a much bigger damage than you would do ordinarily. So that's a burst attack, and they're pretty cool to use in the game itself, and each character has got their own kind of special moves to be able to do. And that is the basics of battle done. Okay, so that was like 17 minutes, so clearly this is going to take a lot of time if you're going to run through it yourself. But hopefully by doing this video you can kind of skip forward to areas that you can't remember. And here we're going to do the battle tutorial, where we learn some of the kind of the finer arts of Pokken Tournament battle. And here we have chosen Shadow Mewtwo, and we're going to use the character for this battle practice right here. So here we'll essentially learn some more advanced techniques, learn how to get to grips with Shadow Mewtwo, which is quite cool, and essentially just get underway a little bit better in the game itself. So here we're going to use some a long distance attack. Essentially this is good because it can use attacks that you want to drive into the field. So try to land a few forward range attacks right now, and we're going to press up and Y, and that delivers kind of more of a ranged attack. And then we're going to use some jumping attacks, so essentially pressing B to jump and then pressing X, we can land a hit, and that'll cause a phase shift which will allow your synergy gauge to go up all at the same time. So it's quite beneficial. And there you go, we switched phase to full phase, which is quite useful in the game itself. So essentially we just need to land a jump to get over one of these range attacks, and we need to be able to land with X. So just retaliating a little bit, getting into position, and there you go, just getting mullered. So you can see a little bit of work needed, but there we go, we got it in the end. So managed to switch phase as well. So here we're going to learn about Poke combos. So when you're in dual phase, if you land a hit with Y, you'll be able to press Y rapidly after that to be able to do a bit of a combo. And that's a big difference from your standard kind of fighting game, because ordinarily you link up different button presses to be able to do a combo. But in Pokken Tournament DX, it's more using the one the one button there, so to land the combo. So we can also do a combo using X and Y there, so there is a little bit of variation, but it's a little bit less variation than you would ordinarily find in a game, and kind of it's not quite as complex as some of the bigger combos in crazy fighting games out there. You can also land a counter attack, which essentially is quite useful. So if somebody's attacking you, you can try to counter it with one of these counter attacks. So here you essentially just press X and A as somebody's attacking, and you manage to do a counter attack. You can use counter attacks in both of the phases. So there you go, just landing a nice counter attack there by pressing X and A. So essentially just going to give that a go now ourselves, X and A. Essentially we've got to land it 3 times, and we want to do it when we're just about to get attacked. So when we get the gist of this, when we try and get it right, there we go. So that's the first one. Need to do a couple more, so hopefully we can be a little bit more sort of on it. Just didn't get the attack in. Anyways, moved on anyway. So grab attacks are also quite useful, where you can grab the opponent and do a kind of a bit of a crazy grab move on them. And this is done kind of when you're close to the opponent. So there you go, you can do it even when they're blocking you, which is quite cool, and it just kind of allows you to get past a block. And they'll kind of get into there's kind of a trio of movesets that are linked up, almost like rock, paper, scissors, but we'll get into that a little bit later. So that essentially a grab attack's not very useful against a normal attack. So if you try to do a grab and somebody's doing a normal attack, then you'll probably get hurt. So use a grab attack. So this is Y and B at the same time, and you can see if somebody's doing a block, it allows you to get past the block and get in a hit anyway, which, you know, is kind of a big part of the game, really. So counter attacks beat normal attacks, and this is the kind of rock, paper, scissors. So if you use a counter and there's a normal attack, you can beat it. Grab attacks beat counter attacks. So if somebody does a counter attack on you, you can try and land with a grab attack, which will be more effective. And then normal attacks beat grab attacks. So if somebody tries to grab you, go with a normal attack is the best bet. And this is kind of a big part of winning and losing in the game. If you can understand this rock, paper, scissors attack triangle, as Naya's calling it, then it's going to help you when you actually take on anybody with any kind of level of skill within the game itself. So it's a really useful concept to try to get, and hopefully that kind of attack triangle visual that they're doing there is going to help you, so you can sort of pause the video and have a look at that and really get used to understanding that as much as possible. So essentially if you can master those the attack triangle, then you'll just be a bit better in the game. So if somebody tries to hit you with you know, a normal attack, you know how to respond to that, and vice versa with all the rest of the moves. So here we're going to get into our support Pokemon. So we've got a support gauge, much in the same way we've got the special gauge. So your support gauge will fill up on a constant level, so it's always going up. So essentially you can press L to call in play your support Pokemon, and you'll have an element of planning time before each round to be able to choose which support Pokemon you want to use. So you can kind of get an understanding of who you're going up against and choose your support Pokemon more wisely. So you essentially choose between the two during your planning time, and you can select your support Pokemon dependent on the kind of battle strategy that you want to put into place. So here we go, we're going to have a quick run through of the types of support Pokemon. There are 3 main types. There's Attack, Disrupt and Enhance. So there you go, you've got the 3 different types. Obviously Attack speaks for itself. They give you an opportunity to dish out another attack. So when your support Pokemon gauge is full, you can do an attack. The Disrupt type Pokemon typically swoop in and block opponents' moves. And finally there is Enhanced support Pokemon, which give you some kind of power up to your main Pokemon or help to heal your HP. which can come in handy if you're a little bit low. You can call in your support Pokemon. So we're going to look at statuses next. So sometimes when you use your support Pokemon, you get a status, and this can be positive and it can be negative. So the positive statuses, they can either be attack increase, defense increase, or speed increased. So you can use that within the game itself, and it'll temporarily increase your one of those different factors. So EV increases your attack, so that you deal a little bit more kind of attack every time you hit somebody. So next up we've got negative statuses, and this is essentially where you can get a negative impact from your opponent using their support Pokemon. So in this case we're going to get a little bit slower, and that's just going to mean that we move around a little bit slower, so we can get a hit a little bit easier. So you can use the statuses to your advantage quite a lot. Now next up we've got cheering. So between rounds there is cheering, which is a bit of a crazy concept, but depending on whether or not you win or lose a round, there are several different types of cheering that you can do. There are cheer skills that are in effect from the first round, as well as those with special effects. So essentially try to test out some of the cheer skills that you've got. I think it's kind of more of a bit of fun than it being massively beneficial to the game itself. So sometimes during field phase you can get synergy power boosts that are kind of randomly lying around the place. So if you can pick these up, these can increase your synergy gauge, which allows you to go into synergy burst. So here you go, as you collect that you can see your synergy gauge going up, and these will appear every now and again. Now because of the movement within the game, it's not 360, you kind of got to get used to being able to move around in different places, and it's always in a straight line. You know, there's no just moving in the direction that you want to go in. You've got, you know, one of 8 different movements that you could potentially do. So next up we've got recommended actions. So here we're going to go in with a Psy-Wave Slash, which is just 4 Ys. We're just going to hit up with, oh no, it's an A and 3 Ys to do a Psy-Wave. So A and 3 Ys, and this is another one of the kind of combos within the game. So they're just kind of giving you a bit of an insight in some of the combo moves that you could try to do. So A, Y, Y, Y. It's a pretty simple combo, and it's not kind of crazy difficult, and there are no really kind of complex, long, involved combos within Pokken Tournament DX, or certainly not in the tutorial itself. It's always just A and X, for example, or kind of some other short combo like that, but the moves that they do are pretty impressive. So it's kind of, there isn't that much to learn, but it's worth picking up on a few combos to be able to use within the game itself, and these are the recommended ones to do. So this is A and X, and this is a Psy-Wave Vortex that you're delivering there, and it's quite a nice one. So so next we're going to learn the Zen Headbutt, and this is up and A at the same time. So there we go, just a bit of a flying in headbutt. And if you were working on a different Pokemon as a part of your tutorial, then you'd see their special moves. This is just specific to Shadow Mewtwo. So that's the second of the tutorials finished. That's the battle practice done. And next up we're going to move on to applied battle techniques, and this is teaching us various techniques. Apparently there's no more the details than that, but essentially it's the next level on. So we just got to choose our Pokemon that we're going to go with, and I think we're going to go with Decidueye, who looks pretty impressive in the game itself. So here we're going to take on applied battle techniques, and Naya is going to take us through it as soon as it's loaded. So here we are. So explanations based on default controllers. So essentially if you change your controller configuration, it will be different. So essentially we're going to get some new techniques. How about some low stance moves? So low stance is during dual phase. So if you press down on the directional buttons to enter into the low stance, which is kind of confusing because you've got to press B to do a jump, but you crouch down by pressing down. So you do that, and you can do low stance attacks by pressing Y or X. So here we're just going to do a couple of those and try and land there. We're going to need to be a little bit closer than this instead of just swooshing around in midair. So here we go. There's a low attack, and you can combo them up. So here you can do kind of a low sweep and then a roundhouse kick, which is quite cool. So pressing up on the directional arrows allows you to do high stance moves, which is why they've got the B for the jump. And essentially this is to do more sort of sweeping upwards into the air moves. So here you can press up and X or up and Y to be able to do some of the high stance moves. And there we go, that's that little section clear. So here we're going to learn about counter attacks a little bit more. So charge counter attacks. You can hold down the buttons to charge your counter attacks, and this deals a little bit more damage, but it takes a little bit of time to deliver. You can also get a combo if you manage to land it correctly. So there you go. You can see we kind of managed to hold it for long enough to be able to charge it. So by pressing X and A at the same time and holding it beforehand, you get to charge the counter. So we're just going to try that now. So we're just going to charge it for a little second and then unleash it onto the opponents. There you go. It was charged for a little second and then released. So you've always got to be close enough to be able to hit them, which is something you're going to need to work on within the game. So for a long time you might be just attacking nowhere, but when you've got opponents that are coming at you, it'll be a little bit easier to kind of hit them. So during a counterattack, you can use directional buttons in the R. So we're going to try and do that now. So here's the demonstration. You can cancel it by using R to cancel your charged move. So you can just dash in then. So here we're just going to try to cancel that ourselves. So we've just got to do the move itself. And then press R to cancel it. There you go, to do the dash. So there's the second one, there's the third one, and when he's ready, there we go, that's the last one done. So that's cancelling. And then piercing attacks. Piercing attacks are special moves that cannot be blocked by counter attacks. You'll find these quite useful as they as the name says, they get through attacks. So counter attacks will fully charge when you hold down, and then you can essentially pierce their attacks. So your best bet with counter attacks is to take the initiative and get the first move in. Thanks for that, Naya. In field phase, you can also hold the last hit of a homing attack to make it a piercing attack. So here we go. We're going to get a demonstration of that, but you don't get to try it out yourself. So for anybody that wants to, it is essentially you press X, and then on the last hit of X to do the move, you hold that move, so you'll be able to do it yourself. And next up, we're looking at knockdowns. So essentially, when you get knocked down, your character gets back up all by itself, but it gives the opponent a bit of time to be able to get up in your face. So it's just something to be aware of. And here we've got blocking. If you do a block and your opponent hits you, you will take some form of damage. So essentially it's block damage. It's a little bit less than you would get ordinarily, but you do get some. And equally, if you block a lot, your blocks eventually kind of go away. So you can hold block, and when it turns red, essentially you know you're in danger of getting a guard break. And once a guard break comes, then your guard's down and you'll take a full hit, as you can see here. Which is, it's not a smart move. So you want to be aware of guard breaks. So here we're going to look at the perks of Synergy Burst. So while in Synergy Burst, you won't be stunned when you're taking small hits. So you can move in for the attack without worrying about your opponent's ranged attacks kind of at all. So here's a bit of a demonstration. So just kind of landing that hit and not needing to worry about the attack. And we're going to get a go of doing the move ourselves. So essentially we're going to try and get through a ranged attack and use the home in attack to be able to deliver that. So there you go, that's that clear. It's quite cool to be able to use that, so when you're in Synergy Burst you can get past certain attacks and deliver your own hits as well. You want to try and use X for strong attacks to stun them, so you can go with grabs as well, which are also quite useful, and essentially do some big damage, as you can see here, using the X. And there you go, you go into a phase shift as well. So next up we've got the combos, so a few more combos. You can link up any attacks. This is what's called a combo, obviously, and we're just going to start off with a simple combo by pressing X and A. So it's double X forward A in this particular case. So here we go, we're just going to have a go at that. So X and back, I think, and A. It's not the best UI, to be honest, but the best thing is just to be aware of the combos, and you can look at the move sets for each character by pressing the menu button, and you can go in and have a look at all their moves and kind of learn all the combos in a bit more time. But the main point here is that there are combos, and they're well worth learning as you go. So Decidueye is doing a little bit of a dance, and we're trying to get these combos. So X, back, plus A, I think. It's so weird the way they've got that set out. Anyway, we're definitely going to get one of these any moment now. Come on, Decidueye. Deliver the hit, for goodness sake, for saving all this time. Have we got it? Yes! Finally. Man, that took a lot of effort. Anyway, you'll be able to get to grips with the combos a little bit better in the free practice, which is quite useful. So kind of just go into free practice, look at the combo moves, and kind of look to be able to do them there. So now we're looking at the battle Pokemon. They've got different amounts of HP. On top of that, how quickly the Synergy gauge fills up and how long the Synergy Burst lasts also differs between different Pokemon. So here you can get kind of an idea of that. You've got low HP and low and average HP, but then you've got the Synergy gauge fills up quickly or fills up slowly, and the Synergy Burst, how long they last as well. So there's also a difference between the battle stages. Battle arenas themselves vary slightly in shape and size. So you can see there's small ones, there's average size ones. Battle Pokemon all have their own strengths and weaknesses, and you'll have to be ready to switch your Pokemon style to be able to adapt to other players. So skill levels. As you battle, your Pokemon will get a skill levels, and you'll get skill points when you level up. Use these to power up whichever skills you want, so you can choose how your Pokemon develops. As you increase your skill level, you can apply those skill points to whichever skills you'd like, and this will help you to skill up and get new moves, which will be quite useful. You can switch out your skill points from My Town whenever you want to. So, tutorial finished. We've done it. We managed to make it through the main 3 tutorials. And what have you got for the pleasure of that? There are 2 more tutorial courses for you to go into, but we're not going to get into those right now, because man, it has been like nearly 40 minutes already just getting through tutorials. Wow, that is a lot of tutorials to do. So we're just going to go and take our newfound terrible skills online into a full battle. So essentially we've just done the first 3 tutorials, and next up we just want to jump in with a quick run through of how quickly you can get whooped on Pokken Tournament DX online with just the barest of skills. So essentially we've learned very little, we've got very little practice, but we've managed to make it through the tutorial. So we're going to go online and get started. So they're just talking through all the different things now Naya is with her finger wagging stance that she likes to do. She's got 2 stances, she only got 2, so no expense spared there. Don't forget to check out the replay theatre. So this is where you can watch kind of replays of any battles that you've done. So if you think you've pulled off an amazing move, then you can go out and check out how cool it actually looks, and realise that actually you got hit a few more times than perhaps you remember. or at least that'll definitely be the case for us when we do eventually get into the battle, instead of just reading and listening to Naya, who just, you know, she's a lovely girl, but she just does go on. I mean, this has been 40 minutes already. It's a lot of effort just to start a game. So here we go, we're going to start with the online battles itself. Here we go, do we follow in? Da, 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 da. Yes, yeah, I think we do want that as soon as we can. And here we're going to choose a match. Probably just going to go with a friendly match to start with. And here you can see how badly we're going to get beat by just going through the tutorials. And the reality is, the only way you're going to stop getting beat is with a bit more practice. We haven't given it a huge amount of practice, if completely honest. But we have made it through the tutorials now, and that's like, you know, 40 minutes. We're not going to get back again. So just going to choose the support Pokemon. So who we're going to go with? There's some quite cool ones. So you've got attacks and disrupts. You've got enhances and attacks as combinations. And as you get more into the game, you'll start to understand who does what and what combinations to use. But I'm just going to go with Snivy and Lapras. And that's probably the worst pronunciation of those ever, but you know, sue us. You know, we're not Pokemon aficionados. This is our first go of Pokken Tournament DX, and here in the online mode we found a new challenger, so we can actually face somebody for the first time, and it's Decidueye against Pikachu Libra. So two of our favorite characters. Happy days. And I am Decidueye. We're in the Dragon's Nest. Okay, so here we are. This is the first battle. You get to see us getting beaten for the first time. Come on, he's charging. We're ready. Come on, Snivy. Snivy? Lapras. Love Lapras. If only you could fight with him, hey? That'd be pretty cool. I mean, obviously he'd struggle with the moving business, but... Okay, so here we are, trying some ranged attacks, just moving around, trying to get to grips with the movement and getting a beat down every now and again from Pikachu Libra. However, you know, we're getting in a few hits. I know this is going to end badly, but, you know, worst case scenario, we managed to get in a few hits. Or, actually, worst case scenario is just get absolutely lamped by Pikachu. Come on, Decidueye, get in some attacks. Come on, there we go. Uh-oh, we've got a burst, we've got a burst. We are gonna get burst up against this wall. Ah, Decidueye, do something. Okay, come on, Pikachu, finish your burst. You've literally destroyed us within a matter of seconds. And this kind of goes to show how important the Synergy Burst is, and getting to a Synergy Burst as quickly as possible. Because there you go, Pikachu's managed to destroy us within a matter of seconds, and you know, we've done pretty much nothing to them. However, hopefully, we're ready to unleash some Synergy Burst within this next game and actually get in some kind of hits, even if, there we go, straight in, I'm not messing around. Come on, Decidueye. Missed. Missed. That is woeful. Oh yeah, okay, finally, we're getting in some kind of damage. Yes, good. Are we even close to halfway? I don't even think so. Come on, Decidueye. Come on! Okay, so just trying to get in as many hits as possible, just doing as many moves as possible. It's a bit finger mashy at the moment, but the game's it's weird. You can kind of start the game quite easily, but as you're seeing from the length of the tutorial, there's kind of a lot of complexity to take into account and a lot of different things to learn, and it is the kind of game that needs a bit of time and effort. You need to be able to spend some time, otherwise you're just going to get beaten. I figured I'd at least take one of these rounds, but it's not looking good right now. We're both pretty even, and Pikachu's just turned on his Synergy Boost, and I'm pretty sure this is where it all ends for us. So here we go, finally finishing. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And hopefully you'll be able to use this video to fast forward to some of the areas of the tutorial that maybe you don't want to go through again with another 45 minutes of your life. Tuppence Magazine!